The Sega Master System is seriously an underrated console. I actually got mine originally only a year after I got my NES 27 years ago. Unfortunately, I spent many years without one, which I'll get more into in a minute. But of course, as a collector, I needed to have the system, and I have a pretty humble collection of games. Let's check it out. Church here, and welcome to the Game Grinder, and today we are doing a Sega Master System collection video. I was tagged in this video much like the PlayStation 1 collection video. This time I was tagged by Nintenjoel, and again I figured this was a perfect opportunity to finally talk about the Sega Master System. So as I said, I got my original Sega Master System. This is not my original, but I got mine only a year after my NES, probably in 1990 I believe. Back then, unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of access to Sega Master System games. A lot of rental stores didn't carry those games in my area. Fortunately, I had a friend that did have it, and he had a decent supply of games. He let me borrow them here and there, so I was able to play a lot of the original classics back in the day. When I was younger, we moved from Wisconsin to Minnesota, and at the time when we moved, pretty much what we could fit in our car is what came with us. My NES made it, my Super Nintendo made it, my Sega Master System did not. So it really wasn't until I started collecting that I got back into the Sega Master System, and as I'm sure many of you know, games can be pretty hard to come by these days, and to get a nice complete in-box copy can be kind of expensive. So like I mentioned, my Master System collection is pretty humble, but I'm pretty happy with what I got. So let's jump right to it. I'm going to talk about the system, some accessories, and then we'll talk about the games. So of course, the Sega Master System. This one does not have any built-in games. My original Sega Master System had the built-in Hang On and Safari Hunt, which were a ton of fun. This next item here probably belongs with my Sega Genesis collection video, but I'm going to show it anyways, and that is the power base converter. So this plugs into the Sega Genesis and allows you to play Master System games on that, which I always thought was really cool. Never really had a use for it, but now having better access to video cables for the Genesis, there are definitely advantages in using this over the Master System. Then of course, with the system, gotta have the basic controller, got a couple of those, gotta have the light phaser for the light gun games, and this one is actually pretty neat. Kind of a cool novelty. Looks surprisingly well for such an old system, and that is the glasses. So these plug into the Sega Master System. There's a handful of games that have some 3D capabilities. It's kind of limited, but still pretty cool. So if you ever get the opportunity to check out a 3D Master System game, definitely do that. Then let's get on to the games. So the first game here is actually the only game that I ever owned besides the built-in games for the Sega Master System, which I've managed to keep over the years, and that is Rambo 3, which is a light gun game. Pretty tough game, I would say. Then we have my only loose game, Marksman Shooting, Trap Shooting, Great Football. A pretty sweet version, albeit a little choppy, Double Dragon. And we have Black Belt, with probably the greatest cover art for any game ever. The original Afterburner. Rocky, with twice the mega power. And then one of the earliest RPGs I ever played that kind of set me down that road, Lord of the Sword. And as I mentioned, early versions of the Sega Master System had built-in games. My original had Hang On and Safari Hunt, but of course having the physical cart-based version, I had to have it. Great Baseball. Ghostbusters. Enduro Racer. A very common game, yet one of my favorites for the system, Choplifter. Shinobi. Wonder Boy, also known as Adventure Island on the NES, and I'm not really sure why there is a difference in name. Maybe somebody can fill me in. Then my absolute two favorite games on the system are Wonder Boy in Monster Land, and Wonder Boy 3, The Dragon's Trap. Very awesome action-adventure platformers, and it was really cool to see Wonder Boy 3 The Dragon's Trap get that updated remake. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It is amazing. Essentially, it's the exact same game, but with hand-drawn art style, and you can actually switch between the two styles. Then the last game here is one I still need to play, but I've heard nothing but great things about it, and that is Golvelius, Valley of Doom. Well folks, that is my Sega Master System collection. Again, I would love to give a huge shout out to Nintenjoel for tagging me. I'll leave the link to his video in the description, so definitely check out his collection, it's pretty awesome. And like I said, this is a system I would love to give more attention to. Definitely want to pick up some more games. Main one being on my list next is Miracle Warriors, which is actually the first game that I actually have memories of playing. Why I haven't picked up that game yet, I couldn't tell you, but it's pretty high up on my list for games to get this year. And then of course I would love to hear your thoughts on the Sega Master System. What do you think about the console? What do you think about the library? What do you think about my collection? What are some of your favorite games for the Sega Master System? And what are some of the games that I should definitely look out for? And then of course, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you next time on the Game Grinder.